next hour or so. Reset is sitting at the controls, making sure all the buttons get pushed at the proper times and bringing folk into the flow. Namaste. Thank you very much. Good to have you back, Reset.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
I bring to you the blessings and the wisdom teachings of His Holiness Mahamandeleshwar Paramahamsa Swarupananda Vishwaguru Maharaj, the man who took the time out of his life and existence to educate me, and then sent me out to represent him within the interweb nets and just basically share these ultimate and eternal truths. Despite any failings I may have, my dharma, my mission, my responsibility is to share Shakti and information. Some people will come to the show and they'll hear me discuss things that they might not have really thought about before. And maybe it'll just kind of make sense. And that's great. That's the externalized knowledge being taken on board. There are also folks who will feel effects when we hang out together, when we interact. This is called Shakti. It is an energy thing, and it is completely natural. It is supposed to happen. It is not a freaky thing. The world may think it is, but it's not. It's always been this way. And it's going to continue to be this way. So there's no need to be concerned about that sort of stuff. Those who engage in the practices that I teach and lead their thoughts in the direction that I point will have effects in their lives that may not be perceivable to anyone but themselves. That is exactly perfect. This is an intensely individual process. It has been for just about everybody who has gone through it and reported to others about that. And we're all basically talking about the same stuff. People get so wigged out by the use of varying words and terms, and there's just really no need of that at all. None. It's a process which occurs within the human It has numerous features and levels. Wonderful. Very good. Not all of them must be experienced in this life. You've been through many of them before already. So if you're one of the folks who's coming up and doing the practices and such, utilizing the mantra, and you've got very good feeling and connection with the practice of the mantra, but you're not getting these wild, crazy experiences and stuff, that's okay. It's quite possible you've already done that. Because as this process proceeds, it becomes more and more subtle. This is why having the opportunity to interact with someone who carries Shakti, which is what I do, because His Holiness empowered and authorized me to do so, this is beneficial. And each individual will get whatever they get in exact proportion to their readiness, their willingness, and their ability to receive it. No different than if each of you went to the river right outside the back of my house here, right here at the ashram. You can only bring back as much water as you took empty space to be filled when you got to the river. That's all. And it changes. Some people have really, really, really odd things occur. But a lot of people don't. And both are exactly perfect. It's not a big deal. Some of it is just the most amazing stuff you'll ever experience. Some of it sucks, to be quite honest with you. You'll go through bits of emotional turbulence without any logical, linear trigger that you can identify sometimes. But it happens, and it goes, and that's that. These are all realities of this practice that we do, and the effects that can be experienced on the way to the singular goal. Shri Satnamji, are you there?
Namaste, Swami.
Namaste. Hey, you got some questions? Yes?
Yes. The first one is, as I've been listening to your talk, there's another line that's kind of sticking out at me, and I can't seem to figure out what in the world it actually means.
Okay.
Early on, probably within the first 10 minutes or so, when it's explaining the nature of the Sadguru, it says, the form of truth is itself the truth. And this one confuses the hell out of me.
That particular passage?
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay, the easiest way for me to have you look towards that is simply to remind you, in all of this practice, the objective is to come into direct, conscious perception first, then direct conscious knowledge that there is one. So, someone, in this instance being the Satguru, the true teacher, is someone who knows this knowledge. That truth is part of the base they operate from in whatever they do. They're not, while their body continues to function, they are not limited to that. They are also completely aware of the original condition to which you aspire in your practice and gaining in understanding. So the form of truth is itself the truth. The form of the Satguru, the one who is aware of this, knows that there is no difference between himself and the truth. Therefore, he can say, as Jesus said, I and the Father are one. Do you see how that is? I mean, is that making intellectual sense?
Yes, it makes sense, Swami. Thank you very much.
Okay. That's all it means. But see, there's these, this is to me, the beauty of the structure of Sri Guru Gita, because there's things that one will hear that, I mean, they can't even come up with a good question along that line yet. Stuff is just so far over the way they normally think. And then as you go through your practice, you come to understand things more and more, and then good questions start arising so that you can take them to the one responsible for your understanding and for pointing you in the eternal and infinite direction, so that they can then wipe away that doubt, and then you just, oh, really? Okay, well, that makes sense. And off you go. That's the beauty of satsang. That's why we do this. So, what else? You had something else we're interested in?
Yes, this is a bit more specific question, but when you mentioned the Archon, and you mentioned that the Mahabharata is a historical account, I do question that around 5,000 years ago, we had a very powerful incarnate of a god on Earth. I want to know, did the Archons come after that, or were they there when he was there? And if so, did anything happen between those two?
I will leave that to the scholars, more or less. I will recognize there is this archonic class of individuals. There have been what have been called gods, which I would think in today's way of thinking, we would just be far more correct in knowing them to be humans who were more technically advanced and spiritually advanced in some cases. There's been all sorts of stuff going on. And you know, this stuff is spoken of in a lot of the ancient Indian texts, plus many other civilizations and societies have had the influences of folks who were not from around there. So, once you start really trying to break all that stuff down, I find a tremendous puddle of mud. I think it perhaps better to just recognize there are far more things going on than people are aware of at this point. But, see, the mere fact that you are becoming aware of this means others are as well. And this is the growth. So when people start to see these things, some will be already completely psychologically prepared for whatever may play out. As beautiful or as horrific as that event or events may be, some can simply observe them because they know themselves to be that one. When you know you are that one, you then are in the position to know the all and simply allow it to do what must be done. Lots and lots of folks around the world wigging out. The Olympics open up in just a few hours, right? I think the opening ceremonies are televised in about 3 hours from right now. To anyone with an affinity for energetic work, I think it would be a good thing to focus a bit of your mojo on London. And see, while in these individuated states, and when you are primarily only able to process information that comes from outer knowledge and the senses, all this stuff gets really freaking scary. There's an ancient Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times. Well, here we are. I just, Sri Satnamji, I cannot recommend that you go digging around in the past. You're here now. So today and what comes after that is where your focus should probably be. Because regardless of which scholar says what, first of all, let's address a bit of difference within where we get the sources of information in this tradition. Scholars are the learned, the ones who have been to universities. And by their scholarship, generally, this means they have not had the direct inner experiences They are well versed in what masters have said, but they have not themselves had the experiences that they talk so much about. Now, there are also scholars who are mystics and have done both. Our guru, His Holiness from Los Angeles, holds 2 PhDs and is awakened, enlightened, liberated, all those things, you know. But he was a scholar before he became serious about the mystic stuff. So don't worry about that. There have been all sorts of beings on this planet. Who knows, man? There's all kinds of word on the grapevine that we're going to see some folks that ain't from around here pretty quick. All sorts of information like that out there. Yep. Okay. If they come, great. If they don't, great. I'm watching it all happen. I would like everyone that I talk to also come and sit with me in the owner's skybox where we can observe the game from safety while playing in the game. That's the objective. That's what occurs when you wake up. You know different. It's what had been concealed is revealed. And that's the way it works in our tradition. Others don't say the same things and don't do the same things, and God bless them on what they do. Okay. But what we do works. Been working. Thousands of years, just doesn't get talked about much. So that's that. Reset, if you would. Let's hit our bottom of the hour thing.
All right.
Flawless Science believes you deserve the right to have a long and healthy life. You deserve to have toxin-free air and water and foods rich in minerals and nutrients. Factory farming, genetically modified foods, and thousands of environmental contaminants are polluting our world and stripping your right to healthy life away from you. FlawlessScience.com helps you regain these rights. FlawlessScience.com makes natural products and provides the best nutraceutical products to enhance your quality of life, your state of health, and well-being. So whether you're struggling with obesity, diabetes, hypertension, memory loss, allergies, high cholesterol, neuropathy, or to spice things up in the bedroom, FlawlessScience.com is here to help you. FlawlessScience.com ships quickly worldwide in discreet packaging and will never sell your information to anyone for any reason. For all your wellness, weight control, extreme muscle building, and nutraceutical needs, visit FlawlessScience.com today.
Namaste. Welcome back. It's Meditative Living on a Friday. And we are discussing whatever arises. Because that's what we do in sometimes. Okay, we have 210.
Hello, this is Shane. Can you hear me?
Namaste, Shane. Yep, I hear you just fine. Where are you calling from?
I'm over here in Dallas. You initiated me on the 6th of this month, and I just haven't had a chance to call in.
Very glad to hear from you. How's things going?
I started strong, and then I started slacking and relegated the mantra to just doing it while I was doing the activities during the day, and as much as I could before falling asleep. But yeah, I just want to touch base with you again and just hang out.
No problem. And I don't want you to like beat yourself up or anything over that, because it happens for most people. No big deal. There is great value in simply doing the japa. It won't get you all the way. You're not progressing at the highest rate of speed possible relative to time, but the thing is, to be comfortable is not bad. If things are better, if you're feeling effects, then that's fine.
Well, I've definitely noticed a difference in when I've actually plugged in and when I've neglected to plug in. So, and like Mike, I was very involved with the Krishnas. Still am here and there, but I started thinking, I'll just do what they do. I'll just chant it out loud all the time. And I started making all these kirtan songs with it and stuff, which is great on some level, but I know that that's not the central point of all this. So.
No, that is a practice in and of itself, but that is not what we are engaged in.
Right.
Ours is more subtle. Ours pays off in a way that the outside world can perceive once we, have reached a certain level, but there's nothing really to watch or play along with. When we gather, it would most likely be a very good amount of simply silent time. And each individual focusing within themselves to the best of their ability, enhanced by the presence of the carrier of the vibration.
Right.
And so there's, numerous times there can be satsangs where the guru, the Swami, whomever is leading the satsang may not say or do anything. They just sit there. But people still have stuff going on within themselves. And it's not always about external expression at all. So, it's not that that is incorrect. It's just what these people are doing. That's fine. We're doing something different.
Yeah, and I kind of went through a little bit of like this weird guilt phase because I used to be a hardcore Christian, and then I got into all this New Age, and then that swept me off track. And then I feel like the Krishnas kind of brought me back to japa and eating right and all this kind of stuff. But then it was like Pentecostal yoga. It was like, in a way, they're great people, but some of them were like, it was way too religious. And as I connected with this practice, it was like I was holding myself back from engaging with this because I was like feeling this weird guilt, like I was like turning my back on Krishna or something. But I know it's all just names, for different names.
Exactly. And it is the free who can see that. I have no investment whatsoever in the sound that you associate in your mind with the divine. Because all names and all forms must fall away eventually. And then the truth is perceived in a relative way. Up until that, by whatever means, you draw support, by whatever means you feel inspired, go with that. Because it could change tomorrow. Whatever. You're developing this discernment where it becomes much easier to weed out when you're having thought patterns that are not of any value to you at all. And this is one of the things that occurs when we practice mantra, and mantra carries your awareness beyond the limitations of the mind and the senses. So thought patterns will begin to fall off, basically through inattention. And
well,
you'll just find that, what's that?
I was going to say, I see the practicality, though, of sticking with Om Namah Shivaya, and, I feel like I can just do it all, but I feel like I need something central, and I really feel like I want this to be my central practice, and then everything else can just kind of be the play of my life. I'll dance with the Krishnas and go crazy, but inside I just want to plug into something that's not dogmatic, and what you present is just, it just feels perfect for me.
I got no dogma for you, buddy.
I love it, man.
I spent a long time as as not a very good person, and I have had the great fortune of fabulous teachers in my life, and now I have the great fortune of sharing what I found. And it does not turn one's life into perfection. That's so silly. Even the enlightened and liberated are just normal people. They still have opinions and, they will still have habits, and there'll be remarkable things about them, but they're just just normal bodies. They just know some stuff not everybody knows yet. But eventually everyone will, because that's the only way it works. And wherever the individuation you are looking at is at in that moment is okay for them. They've got the free will to be however they want to be. And the less you involve your thought processes in their behavior, the more peaceful you can become. And through that peace, their behaviors no longer have the ability to sway you that they once did.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it works for a lot of people. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I hear use the word fall away, fell off, something just fell away, it's not there anymore. Whether it be a habit, a dietary thing, various thought processes and habitual reactions that they notice that their mind is no longer throwing at them. Great. That's what's supposed to be happening. It's the most natural thing in the world. It's what you would have been doing all along had not there been this whole archonic religion separation stuff going on.
Yeah, I used to be into that.
So, I've yet to meet anyone who wasn't.
Yeah, right.
Serious.
That's right, yeah, for sure.
And for me, it was kind of odd. It was like, as I got deeper into the subtle, my interests kind of kept going further and further back in time. I got into martial arts and into inner training in martial arts and utilization of subtle energy and stuff like that. And then that carried into healing practices and utilization of that very same force. Not any different, really. And then into the yoga stuff, and then things just started getting really simple. And I was like, holy crap, look at this system right here, talking about the same basic process, and look how complicated they make it.
Right.
To me, making something complicated doesn't make it better. It just makes it complicated. I don't care how many degrees and levels and whatevers that they have. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
My learning through martial arts training was they have you do repetitive stuff because that ticks away the clock. And once it becomes a business, you have to keep people busy because, okay, let's say just from martial arts training. If you're training in martial arts because you want to learn how to defend yourself, how much help is it for you to stand for hours and hours and hours making moves by yourself doing the kata exercises? Because your entire way of thinking is going to change once somebody's standing there trying to punch you in the face.
Right.
So that is what you need to learn to deal with. So you need a more combative application of the training in order to progress. Standing there watching yourself in a mirror doing movements with no threat is a complete... I mean, there's some value to it, but it ticks the clock away in the school environment. The masters, they're not... That's something you go home and do on your own time. When you come to the master, you do what he says. He shows it a couple times. You do it to each other. That's it. It's not, based on how many ticks on the clock. When I was studying ninjutsu, ninja, back in the 80s, the Grand Master would demonstrate the technique. And by seeming to put forth no effort at all of a sudden, the one he's applying the technique to begins to make very interesting sounds. And you see, look at that. Okay. And he would do this a few times, and then he'd say, go play. And you'd pair off, and you try to do it. And he just comes around and, he shows you where you're not doing it right and how to move it and, all that stuff. That's the learning how to fight. Standing there doing doing the exercises over and over and over for an hour, that's not, I don't know. But
makes sense.
And what I'm finding really cool, since I came up through that path, through martial arts and then into the esoteric practices and into what I do now, which is Sanatana Dharma, the eternal way. But a lot of other folks that I've had the opportunity to work with also have backgrounds in martial arts. And now, of course, their interest is somewhat involved in what I'm doing, or they wouldn't be listening at all. We're pretty much a niche kind of audience going on here. It's not for the masses, I don't think. If masses end up showing up, that's groovy. That's great.
Well, I just feel blessed. I mean, I've been kind of looking at this stuff for a while, and I always kind of slightly scoffed at the whole guru thing. But then, knowing about a little bit of martial arts, I've been on and off in my life. I was like, master disciple, and someone who's an artisan and takes on an apprentice. I mean, there's value in that. That's time-honored tradition.
How else do they learn?
Yeah.
Because there's more going on than what's written on a page. There are subtle things to be passed along. And if one has no experience of these subtle things, they don't have all the knowledge. That's the way it is. That's the way it's always been. And see, when it comes to the guru, you have to be willing to take those behaviors, words, and such that may not really vibe well with you, and just go, but that's just him. That's the human, because that is very much there. It doesn't go away. You don't stop being that, ever. If you're embodied, you will have to deal with body stuff. Only when you're enlightened, liberated, and drop the body does then all bodily stuff you have no further involvement with. You return to the original state, the one without a second. Done. The whole objective in individuation is the joy of rediscovery. Because it is very much, oh, I forgot. This is cool.
Sure.
But there's so much layered over the top of that we have to dig through and process. And that is put there by karma and dharma for the individual. The results of your past actions which have become active in the life of this body. Those things must play out.
It's also a relief to know that... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's a relief to hear your teaching as well, because in some of these circles I was in with the New Age community, there was pieces of good teachings like Gnosticism and all this kind of stuff, but it was like I could never be in like a bad mood. I could never like talk with anyone. No one really listens. Everyone's just kind of going on and on about all these like mind-blowing things and spacey-eyed and like, it's like, I don't know.
But are they actually living it? Are they talking about it?
There's a lot of talking, and you're kind of ignored if you don't have like a mind-blowing story to talk about, and you know, it's just like, just kind of got old after a while.
I'm not, okay, everybody gets their experiences. Some are very, very dramatic, but they're not better. In fact, what I'm finding is that sometimes those who are experiencing nothing or very little of that nature are actually functioning at a higher level because they've already done that. They are here to finish the last bite of the human experience, to become a Jivan Mukti, enlightened and liberated while living in a body. This is not an either-or kind of thing. It's a both at the same time thing. So when we begin to have transcendent experiences, a lot of people think, oh, well, that's very good, and this is lovely, and all this other stuff shouldn't be. Wrong. They are both completely valid. Your feelings toward the lower functioning will be changed by repeated exposure to the higher and transcendent reality. That is the true knowledge. That if everyone were taught about that knowledge primarily, all the rest would work itself out quite easily. We don't have to argue about it. But this is the state we're in, you know? I'm just glad that you got the vibe.
I was making it so complicated. Like, I was trying to focus on my third eye and all this kind of stuff, and really just repeating the mantra and then resting in the silence spontaneously, you know, because I was all into silent meditation. But this now it's like sometimes I'll just get that third eye feeling without even focusing on my third eye. It'll just happen that I'm not, like, attached to whether it happens or not. And it's not that strong. It's just,
this is, well,
just there.
And as we bring people to their own mastery, we do not want to focus on these details that become detours. Things like focusing on the third eye. The third eye is doing what it's doing. No problem. If there's something necessary to happen, you don't have to focus on it. It will occur. I promise. There's the whole objective is what we call nirvikalpa sahaj samadhi. Nirvikalpa means without thought. Stillness of the mind. No thought process occurring. Sahaj means effortless. or natural. Samadhi means absorption. You just are absorbed into the whole as it is, without effort, naturally, and without the mind having to process anything. Because you are just fine when the mind is not processing anything. The mind is your servant, not your master. And you can get into a relationship with the mind where it only functions as necessary. It's not constantly running. We call that the monkey mind in the East. Because it's like a monkey jumping from branch to branch, from idea to idea, thought to thought, problem to problem. Why? Is it necessary at that point? If not, why not sit and be quiet? Because when you do that, that quiet that you find in that condition will begin to leak out into your mundane, active life. And anyone who's been doing this for a while can attest to that occurs, you know?
There almost seems to be a connection, because this whole synchronicity thing, like, I'm not saying I know for sure, but it almost seems like a connection between, like, quietness and synchronicity. It's like, it's already there, it's just we keep getting in the way, and then the more we develop that quietness, it's like synchronicity just kind of, like, shows up and, like, exposes itself, and like, even if we have a monkey mind, like, I'm trying to learn how to be quiet. I've heard some masters say that, like, just be quiet even in the midst of a monkey mind, just, you know, and it'll slow down on its own.
Yep. And you are involved in a practice of japa, which the only reason that practice exists is to do that very thing.
Right, right.
And there may come a time when you have the experiences and the knowledge of the experiences, and yet the thoughts are still running a mile a minute sometimes. That's fine. That's natural. It doesn't just turn off. You know, a lot of people think that enlightenment is something you gain. It is not. Enlightenment is what remains when all the crap has been scraped away and is no longer able to affect natural function. And that's what you are classifying as synchronicity. This synchronicity we speak of is also known as doing God's will, because it is truly a divine process playing out to which you are a witness. Your thought doesn't make any difference. It actually gets in the way. Namaste, everyone. I love you all. Thank you so much for coming and listening. Om Namo Narayana. This is my highest blessing to you.
Thank you.